There's another question that we could answer too, and you already answered it, but how many coins would it take to make the bucket weigh 604 grams? And it might seem like, man, that would be tough. That's a tough question, but you guys already answered it. And in fact, you answered it with what I would call, or not, sorry, not what I would call, but what you guys called simple math, right? Like you said, all that we did was subtraction and division. But take a look here at this equation that you guys wrote. Oh, come on. Take a look at this equation and then look at this, again, simple math, right? So what you guys did, if we would go through this step by step, is to answer this question, now what you did is you took a different variable. How many coins? Well, that's C. We don't know that, so we're going to leave that as C. But we will replace the W with 604 because that's the weight, and we need to know what that is. So what we're going to do, well, it looks like you already did it. First step is you subtracted 88.66, and what you did is you got rid of the bucket, the empty bucket. So we're going to have to get rid of the empty bucket from this side too. And in essence, you're doing that by subtracting out that empty bucket. And what you're left with is the number of coins times how much each coin weighs, which in essence is the number of, well, it says coins here, which means I should say this is coin weight, not number of coins. That was my fault for not being a little bit more careful about how I referred to that number. And that is 515.34. And then your next step, it looked like, is you divide it by 0.62. So we'll take this number, divide it by 0.62. But, what did you do there? When you divided by 0.62 and you got rid of the weight of each individual coin, well, you ended up with just the number of coins, which was, I'll be careful about my sign here because we're going to round a little bit, is, approximately 831 coins. But in order to do that, you had to get rid of this 0.62, and you're going to do that with the same operation. So now what you did is you solved an equation that probably looked pretty nasty before if it was taken out of context, and you did it with just a couple simple steps up here. So that's something really neat that you can do with equations. You can tell things about a situation without having to go through the process of counting or weighing every single time. So we wrote the equation. We also know from studies of our relationships that we can do more things to study relationships besides just write an equation like we did. But we can also study tables and graphs. So if you look here, let's try to look at this data as a table. One way to organize your data would be while you are weighing it to list it in a table. So we could make a table that would tell us the number of coins and then the total weight. And let's say that we start with, well, what would it be with 0 coins? It would just be the empty bucket. And with 1 coin, it would be 89.28. And then with 2 coins, we were looking at 89.9. So every time that we weigh, we list the number of coins we had and the weight, because those are the two things that we say are related, and we list them out. And it looks really similar to what you guys did here. If you notice, you guys just sort of had, here's the table column with the coins, and here's the table column with total weight. But we just don't have all this like pattern and numbers over here on the left-hand side. So now with this table, what we can do is we can look at that table in a calculator. So what would we do with that? Well, we know that we need to organize it in a list and spreadsheet. And so we could just start typing in, 0 and then 88.66, remembering to label each column. And so I've already done that here with all of our values. And just because I didn't want to type out coins and weight, I labeled it C and W. So there's our table, and we haven't really gotten into yet how to look at spreadsheets and do some analysis with the tables, but we'll get to that. In the meantime, what we can do is we will study this in a graph. So we're going to add in a new page. And for the purposes of what we've been doing lately, a number 5, a data and statistics page would work just fine. And you guys know from our previous dealings with this page that we need to hit tab and choose. Okay, so which variable is x? And before you go just picking one of them, you got to be careful because there is a relationship between x and y here. And one of the ways that we looked at that relationship between x and y is by looking at one of the parts of a linear equation that we know where we know x and y are related. And that place is in the slope, right? We go back to the idea of delta y, delta x. So what would it make more sense to study? Do we want to study coins per gram, like the number of coins we'd need to make 1 gram, or do we want to study, or have we studied the number of grams per coin, like how many grams are in 1 coin? And if you think about what we did when we weighed just 1 coin, we found the number of grams in 1 coin. So we're going to stick with this grams per coin and disregard that one for now. You could study coins per gram, but that's not the way that we approach this problem, and the relationship between the two variables would be a little bit different. So we're going to go with grams is y, coins is x. So back over here, if this is x, coins, and then hit tab again, and oh, come on, there we go, W for weight. And that looks like a pretty nice straight line. So what we're going to do now is we're going to, we know that it's a straight line. We've looked at our equation before, and we wrote our equation. We're now going to graph that equation with a menu, analyze, plot function, and we'll put in the function that we had, 0.62 x plus 88.66. Hit enter, and that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted those points that represented how many coins and their weight to match this rule. And the way that they show that graphically is by landing right on the line. So that's it for now. Hope this helped if you were having some trouble in class, and we'll see you soon.